So today, we're going to be doing wheels and tires on the Subaru. Depending on what you have for tools, this can be easy, it can be complicated. For me, it's going to take some time. What we're going to do is we're going to break the nuts loose in the front, and then jack up the front and take the wheel off, put it on a jack stand, and then do the same thing in the rear. Not overly complicated. All you really need is a breaker bar, the right size socket for your wheel nuts, the jack, and some jack stands. So fingers crossed, no drama, just get it done. Let's get started. What I have here is an extension along with a 19 mil to break these loose. I'm gonna go lefty-loosey on these. I like to get the breaker bar in a nice high up position so I can use my body weight rather than having to work too hard for it. Not a huge guy, so, trying to use that body weight where I can. There's 2 nuts loose. 3. 4. Yeah, that was the one. And 5. When I can finally find the right one. Break that loose. Perfect. Alright, now that I've broken everything loose, I'm going to jack the car up. When I have to jack on pinch welds like I do right now, I like to put a little piece of wood in between the jack and the actual pinch weld to try to preserve it a little bit. So I'm going to look under, get that aligned right, start to jack, and then once I get it to a decent height where the wheel and tire are off the ground and there's space for the jack stand, I'm going to put the jack stand underneath and then remove the jack. Alright, so seeing as I don't like to go much higher than I have to with jack stands, I am going to see how close I am to sneaking this guy in here. Alright, and that's pretty good. Since we're here, I'll go up one more click just to make life easier. There yet. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to lower this down slowly. Try to make sure you're on pinch welds. Keep that in mind. Drop it down nice and slow. Down. All right, and that is the entire front off the ground with the wheels loosened. got everything off the ground, it's time to zip the wheels off. I'll use my Ryobi impact here and just pull them right off. And that's it. We got a floating Subaru. Not too bad. All in all, it took about 45 minutes even with recording. So we got the wheels back here. The tires on them are actually new. I had to get new tires in alignment when I got this because it was dangerous to drive. They were chopped. There were some cords showing. And the guy probably never got them in alignment. But yeah, I'm going to grab the wheels out of there. I'll show you guys those. We'll get them swapped over and on. My buddies at Das Auto are going to pull them off and put them on the wheels because I don't have the tire machine. But once I've got those wheels with the tires off of them, I'll show you guys what they did and how they did it. A little bit of a bonus, we're going to do an oil change, like have it up on the jack stands. It's needed one, it's coming up on one, and that was trusting the sticker that the original guy had. So maintenance is always good. Let's get it done.
These are the wheels I picked up for the car. They're the factory forged BBSs for the STI in this generation. They're freshly refinished and the gold paint is literally flawless. Over at Das Auto, I get ready to get my new tires off of my factory wheels. I've just taken the valve core out of the valve stem. Then, once all the air is out of the tire, I'm going to break the bead in the front. Then, I'm going to flip the tire around and break the bead in the rear. Next, I need to get the wheel and tire locked onto the machine so I can remove the tire from the wheel. With the wheel in place, I'm going to use two different specialized pry bars to get the tire up and over the lip of the wheel. Then I'm going to rotate the wheel and gradually pull the tire off as it comes around. With the front of the tire off the wheel, I'm then going to use the pry bar again to get under the bottom side of the tire and get it up and all the way off of the wheel. And there we go, the tire's free. Just rinse and repeat for the other four wheels. Peter was kind enough to mount my tires on my new wheels for me. I only do this once in a while, so I'm not particularly skilled, and if you have a nice face you want to protect, I'm not your guy. Reversing what I did earlier, Peter is using a specialty arm to force the tire back over the front lip of the wheel. Once this is complete, the tire will be inflated until it sets on the bead in both the front and back of the wheel. Now we have to balance the wheel. Most wheels and tires have imperfections that need to be considered so they don't wobble at certain speeds. In this case, the wheel and tire have already been rotated on the machine, finding the imperfections. I'm going to add a certain amount of weight to balance these out. With the wheels mounted and balanced, I'm going to head back to my shop to do the oil change. To start doing the oil change, you need to remove the splash guard. To do this, you need to remove a handful of 12mm bolts from the bottom of the car. With the splash guard out of the way, I can move my oil collection pan under the car and loosen the oil drain plug with a 17mm socket. With most of the oil drained from the car, I can now work on getting the oil filter off. I use this little hammer trick with the back of my socket wrench, just to make sure it's snug enough to get the oil filter off. Now I'm going to reinstall the oil drain plug and oil filter. The oil filter has been pre-filled with the synthetic oil that I bought for the car. This prevents certain areas of the engine from going without oil after the first start. With everything buttoned up, we need to refill the engine with oil. The capacity is 4.5 quarts. I'm going to check the initial fill and just make sure everything looks good before we give the car a start. Everything looks good, so I'm going to give the car a start and check for leaks. Once I'm sure everything looks good, I'll check the oil again, top it up if needed, and then we'll get to putting the splash guard back on. I topped off the oil and everything looked good, so now I'm reinstalling the 12mm bolts to hold the splash guard up. With the splash guard bolts hand tight, that's everything finished up for the oil change. Join me next time while we finish up the brake job and get the wheels back on the car. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below. Also, give me a follow at Epoch Motoring on Instagram.